Greetings, this is Fallen Heart. I went to see the Mario Brothers movie the other day. It's the first time I have walked to that cinema since the Deadpool movie, no, Deadpool 2 came out. And it's the first time I have been to that cinema since New Guy came out. I don't go to the cinema that often, but I wanted to see this movie, as did two of my friends. So we went the other day, got myself this big fucking thing of popcorn, this big fucking, like, ice slush thing. They don't call them slushies anymore. I call them ices or something. I don't know. Anyway, so, we went to see the movie. And I'm just going to discuss my thoughts of it. I don't think you can say anymore that video game movies are inherently bad. Because Detective Pikachu was fantastic as well. And this is good for much the same reason. They do a really good job at kind of implementing the world. Surprisingly well. Because, let's face it, Mario is fucking simple. If you think basic-ass video game, you're either going to go to Pong levels, or you're going to go to Mario levels. It's, here's your obstacle course, here's the goal, get to the end. Collect a few things on the way there. That's Mario. It is one of the most basic fucking video games you can play. To the point where these characters, they don't have personality. It took a few games into the future for them to actually develop some personality. Mainly the RPG series. So in order to make a movie out of these characters, a few changes are going to have to be made. And they're going to have to pull some personality from the other games. There's a reason why I always preferred Luigi over Mario. And it ain't because he's green and tall, but that's part of it. It's because he actually has a personality. You look at Mario in literally everything, and compare him to Luigi in like just Luigi's Mansion or Smash Brothers or something like that. Luigi is kind of cowardly, he's kind of clumsy, he's a very slapstick kind of character, and he's got personality, he's endearing, he's a little bit cowardly, he's very expressive, and he's got a good soul to him, he's got a good heart to him, he's a good-natured guy that gets caught up in weird shit. He's a cool character. Mario is, woohoo! He's confident, that's it. He's confident and he beats Bowser and he saves Princess Peach and that's kind of it. Mario has no personality. Unless being competent and badass is a personality. That's kind of it. He has no personality. I don't really think he ever has. Maybe in the RPG series, I can't quite remember. I've not played all of the RPG series and I've only played I've not played the ones I have played in a long time. But the RPG series added a lot of personality to these characters, as did Smash Brothers to a lesser extent. Bowser especially is fucking brilliant in those games, and that is the form of Bowser they chose to put in the movie. And I was dubious about Jack Black because I both love and I'm irritated by Jack Black at the same time. I love him. Huge fan of Tenacious D growing up. I've not really listened to them. I think I've kind of they don't have the same magic for me anymore. But I'm a huge fan of Tenacious D growing up. I loved The Pick of Destiny. Loved the Tenacious D show. Loved Jack Black. And that man oozes charisma. He does some of the most cringe, annoying shit in the fucking world and somehow makes it endearing. He is a loud, obnoxious, dorky person and somehow makes it work. Which is weird. This man oozes charisma. He is like the full-on personality stat bod. That's all he is. Full-on personality. And it fucking works. Like, that man is one of the most beloved, likable people in Hollywood. He is so fucking endearing. And he, much for the same reason why I really liked, shit, I forget his name, but the guy that played Deadpool, is he would go to interviews dressed up as Deadpool, and he got into that character. He loved that character. He grew up reading the comic books, and part of the reason why the first Deadpool movie was so fucking good is because he had to fight for that to happen. They wanted to make so many changes, and he had to fight tooth and nail to have the real fucking Deadpool rather than the bullshitted version on the screen. Hats off to him for that. And he He got fully into this character. It was like he was living his dream. He got fully into this character. He would go to interviews. I would enjoy watching adverts with this character, because that's kind of what Deadpool is. He is a fourth wall breaking, clownish meme character. He was a meme long before internet memes were a thing. He is the most internet comic book character to ever exist. Out of all the comic book characters to be applied to the modern world, Deadpool's the one that fits the most, right? And he just embraced that character, and he was glorious. And Jack Black was the same. He went to interviews dressed as Bowser. He was flaunting around and being daft, and it was great. And I thought, from the trailers, shit. There's a few of those trailers that give you the wrong impression of the movie, right? Chris Pratt is not as bad in the movie. Let's just put that out there right away. Bowser, watching the trailers, I was like, all I can hear is Jack Black here. This just sounds like Jack Black playing Jack Black. Because Jack Black gets typecast a lot. He plays characters that embody his personality. They are usually big, loud, obnoxious, confident, but often undeserving in their confidence characters. Look at his entire backstory. His back catalogue, all of his fucking characters he's ever played, and the only time the characters he's ever played have never worked is when he's gone out of that typecasting. That is when his characters have never worked, when he's not basically playing a slightly exaggerated version of himself. So I thought it wouldn't work for Bowser. It does. While watching this, you can hear Jack Black on occasion, especially the greatest scene in the movie where he's singing on the piano. That fucking scene, I had that on repeat last night when I got back on YouTube. It's so good. It's the best scene in the movie. I want an entire album of just Bowser on the fucking piano. It's so good. But especially when he's singing. But outside of that, you don't hear him. At least I didn't hear him. And this is someone, if anyone would hear Jack Black, it's me. I love his movies. I love his person in general. I love his music, right? I grew up with that shit. Like, Jack Black is up there with Robin Williams and Jim Carrey for me. What's his name? He was in the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Has a very unique voice. He was Rocky Horror Picture Show, Fern Gully. I forget his name at the top of my head, but he's like, Jack Black's in that group of dudes that really, when I think back of really fun, memorable times in my history, they're there, right? So if anyone's gonna know his voice, it's gonna be me. And whilst I was watching the movie, I stopped noticing it. I only noticed it in the trailer. So it doesn't... And Chris Pratt as Mario, it's fine. Because here's the thing. Like, if we went through the entire fucking movie listening to woohoo, okie dokie, that would be annoying really fucking quickly. It wouldn't work. It would not work. It would be annoying. It would be obnoxious. You could not take the movie remotely seriously in any way. They had to change that. And the way they ground Mario is by giving him a mild Italian accent that will occasionally come out really high-pitched when he's excited. Which reminds me of my own accent. I'm a Scouser, I'm from Liverpool. Because of the internet, my accent's been kind of skewed, so I sound somewhat American to a lot of locals. I don't speak quite like a lot of Scousers. However, when I get excited, my voice goes higher pitched, and I start to sound more like a Scouser. So the idea that Mario, when he gets excited, he will revert back to that like stereotype, that works because I'm someone who has that trait themselves. So it works. It's not distracting. It works. It's great. The voices are great. Yeah. Toad, I love how they managed to get Toad's like meme hi voice without really destroying him. Toad was, out of all the characters in the movie, Toad was the one that was like, this could very easily be a very annoying character. He's not. He's really endearing. I like Toad. He's great. I think he's Captain Toad as well, judging by the backpack. In fact, there's even a jingle, because I didn't know this because I've not played the game. I was watching videos when I got back. Captain Toad, there's actually a jingle when he first meets him. So it's Captain Toad. Which is great. They managed to kind of connect the worlds really well. At the start of the game, you're just with Mario Luigi. You're just with Mario Luigi in Brooklyn, and they do a really good job at kind of like grounding the family in like typical American Italian kind of tropes, and it works quite well. The grandfather is a reference I didn't realize, but he's actually a reference to the original Mario design, which is really cool. I like that. I didn't know that. That was pointed out to me by a friend of mine. I like the Mario series, but I don't love the Mario series. For many years, the only Nintendo property I really cared about was Pokemon, and still is to this day. But I do like a bit of Mario, and I do like the odd Zelda now. I used to hate that series, but I do like the odd bit of it. But it doesn't grab me like Pokemon does. So I'm not really a main fan. I'm very a normie fan. But even I'm noticing a lot of the things. Right at the start, you've got Punch-Out stuff on the wall. You've got Duck Hunt stuff. The music. I'll get into that in a minute. But at the start, they're setting up Mario. They're grounding him. All that kind of stuff. Great. And then when you get into the Mushroom Kingdom, at a certain point, I think one complaint you could make is it's very fast-paced. So it goes beat to beat to beat to beat to beat. They're like, here are all the properties that we want to get in. Here are all the areas from the games we want to get in. Let's try and figure out the way to get these in as much as possible. And there are some great things, like at one point they're designing a car and it's literally the fucking Mario Kart build your car thing from the video games. That made me laugh. That was great. There's a lot of game logic. This is one of those rare game movies that are not afraid to be like, this is a game movie. So many game movies try to take itself so fucking serious, whereas this is like, this is from the video games. There's a bunch of series like that, moments like that, where it's like, yeah, this is game logic. This isn't the real world. Stop treating it like it's the real world. This is game logic. It's dripping with Easter eggs and references and throwbacks. And the way they connect one section to the other, while occasionally a bit fast-paced, is brilliant. They actually managed to connect Donkey Kong, Mario Kart, and Mario Brothers really well, among one or two throws to other things as well. They managed to connect this stuff really well, which was surprising. They got a lot in there, and it's constantly followed by these jingles from the games. I can't even pinpoint where half of these jingles came from because I know them, but I can't tell you which game they came from or which system they came from most of the time, because I know them. I've played these games, but you know, I'm not that big of a fan to pinpoint like here. But as they'll go to a certain section, as the transition comes in, or as they're about to transition, you'll hear a jingle that's basically from the game, but they merge it well enough with a movie soundtrack. It's so brilliantly done where it's subtle enough for a fan to pick up, but if you're not a fan, it just sounds like transitionary music. It's great. There's a bunch of other things as well. For example, I want to turn my ringtone to the GameCube thing. Fucking Luigi's phone. Like... that, I love that. There's so many little references, things like that. It's put together really well. Now, let's get into the politics. This is actually why I made the video, because I think the reaction to this movie is the perfect kind of representation of how fucking batshit obsessed we've become with these politics in recent years. Everyone at this point. This isn't just one side of politics. We're all doing this. And it's insane. People need to chill the fuck out, right? There are people on all sides of politics grabbing this movie and using it to further their own narrative. And I've been watching a few of them, including one or two from people who I respect. It's on my second screen right now. Shad from Shadiversity. I have watched his channel for years. I love his history stuff. But he's been kind of falling off in recent years because I think I put him in the same kind of category as Jordan Peterson, where I genuinely think he's a good person. I don't think he's a bad person. I think he's just been way too terminally online that he's lost track of reality. He's looking for these connections. He's been so consumed by this constant, never-ending tsunami of political bullshit that he sees it everywhere. I remember years ago, Anita Sarkeesian said, when you first start getting into this stuff, you see it everywhere, and you have to point it all out. It's a line that was constantly misquoted, and I'm not a fan of Anita Sarkeesian. I've made criticizing videos of her in the past, but it's a line that's constantly misquoted by the opposite side. But what she's saying is, when you first start seeing this stuff, when you awaken to this stuff, which is where the term, woke started to be applied, you start to see it everywhere. It's like when you learn a new word for the first time and then you suddenly start to hear it everywhere, right? It's like that. Your perspective is awakened to certain ways of viewing things, and once that happens, you can't unsee it. You're seeing it everywhere. And once you've been in that mode for such a long time, you don't realize you're doing it. And I think that's what both Shad and Jordan Peterson, both people I generally think are decent people with opinions that I don't necessarily agree with, that have been kind of dragged through this. They've spent too much time online, they've spent too much time submerged in this bullshit that it's colored their perspective, and they're seeing things that aren't there. The right-wing complaint of this movie is that Peach is essentially replacing Mario. Right. I don't like woke stuff. And the reason why I don't like woke stuff is because it pushes politics over story, right? Now, this movie is not that. Woke girl boss kind of characters tend to be essentially the gender-swapped interpretation of how people with that ideology views old-fashioned male characters. Meaning they're needlessly aggressive, extremely demeaning, and just bitter towards people in general, but especially people of the opposite sex. And that's what modern girl boss characters are. The movies are usually full with feminist lines. There's usually a few fuck men lines, or yay, power to women, women are amazing, fight the patriarchy kind of lines, right? Modern movies are full of that shit. I've even watched shows that I really enjoy, and that has been shoved in there as well. But because I'm enjoying the show so much, I'm like, oh, this is the modern world we live in, just ignore it and move on. I never had to do that at any point in this movie. Peach, in the original games, is not a character. She's a plank of wood. She's just the goal. She is no different from the flag at the end of the level. She has no character, she has no personality, she is just the goal, right? She's the treasure chest at the end. I know like I'm sounding like I'm making feminist issues here, like complaints here, but listen. Nobody plays the Mario games with a story. Mario games are as basic as they come outside of Pong, like I already said. Obstacle course, get to the end, collect shit, right? The reason why people play the Mario games are not for the story, it's for the gameplay. However, the Mario RPG series changed this, and they gave a lot of characters personality. Now, Peach, outside of maybe Smash Brothers or Mario Kart, in this movie, is not the video game Peach for the most part. She's had a few badass moments in this series, but not quite like this. And quite frankly, I like it. Because I've never given a fuck about Peach prior. Because she's not really much of a character. Just like I said, I like Luigi more than Mario because Luigi actually has a fucking personality. I love Bowser as a character, especially from the RPG series, not just because of his design, which I love in general, it appeals to me, but because he's just this silly, goofy simp of a character. I love him. He's this big, gruff monster that's actually just kind of a fucking incel. And I'm not using that in terms of a insult way, I'm using that in terms of a description. Like, he's just kind of one of them. And I love him. He's such an endearing character. And despite the fact that he's doing awful shit in this movie, they still managed to catch that. He's an awful genocidal prick. But he's so lovable. That might be because of the casting, but he's so lovable. And that scene where he's on the piano, Peaches, Peach. I'm not spoiling it, but it's so fucking good. I love his character. I love his character. They nailed that Mario RPG character here. Peach is great in this movie. I love her. She's great. She has lived in this world all her life, right? She's lived in this world all her life, and she's the princess. She's the ruler, the sole royal of this area. She rules this area like Cranky Kong rules the Kongs. She rules the Mushroom Kingdom, right? she's got to be competent. She's lived in this world her entire life. She's got to be competent. So when Mario, a basic-ass human like you and me, shows up, he's fucking useless. Because he can't jump, he struggles to navigate like everyone else, because this is not his world. He's lacking the super speed, the super strength, the super jumps. He's lacking all this, because he's not a fucking superhero. He's a basic-ass dude. However, his brother is lost, and he has been joined by the hip, protective of his brother since they were little babies. So, of course, despite the fact that he's in this weird fucking world in which he's completely out of his element, he wants to do all he can to save his brother, because he fucking loves his brother, and he is going to put himself through hell and high water in order to save him. He's not going to randomly save this princess in this random weird mushroom world, and he hates fucking mushrooms, in this random weird mushroom world that he knows nothing about. Why the fuck would he do that? But he is going to do it for his brother, because he loves his brother. He cares about his brother, and he's been protecting his brother all his fucking life. That gives him a real reason to fight against these odds. The average person wouldn't do what he's doing for some random people they don't know. They would do it for family, though. So making Luigi the damsel in distress makes so much more sense. Making Peach the competent one who basically teaches Mario about this world and can navigate these things really fucking well makes sense. And she has been a playable character in the video games, and she's often been a pretty good one. Personally, I was always a Toad guy, but she is a pretty fucking good character in these fucking video games. Later series, and in Mario 2, which wasn't really a Mario game, so I don't really count that. They just made it a Mario game, but later entries, like I think one of the Wii ones, was you could play as Peach in multiplayer. And let me tell you, playing like 4-player co-op in those old games where you could basically kill each other by throwing things at them or going too far ahead and dragging them off the screen, it was chaos, and it was so much fun, you know. And they do such a good job with Peach here. It makes sense. This is her world. She's in the she's got responsibility here. She is teaching him. But at no point does she demean him. At no point does she go, I'm better, fuck men, yay women. None of that ever comes up at any point. She is just competent. She's just competent. That's all it is. And if we didn't have this constant fucking feminist versus, you know, wokist versus right traditionalist bullshit going on, nobody would care. It's just the fact that we have this political discourse that has been going on for fucking years now that people actually notice, like, have issues with this, right? It's the outside world corrupting the view of the movie. But she's kind and caring and supportive. She's witty and she's competent. And at one point, she is captured. And if Mario and Kong didn't show up at that point, she would have been overwhelmed. She wasn't completely helpless, and she's a ruler, so she's fucking smart. But at that point, there was too much shit going on. People would have died, and she would have been captured again if it weren't for other people showing up. So, whilst Luigi in that situation was the ultimate damsel in distress, she still needed the help of these other people coming in. So, she's not, again, another one of these extremely overpowered, can-do-no-wrong characters who just win all the fucking time. Because if this was one of these modern characters, she would go through the entire movie herself just by clicking her fingers. She wouldn't need the help of anyone. But she did need the help of anyone. Again, it didn't need to be expressed. You could figure that out just by watching what the fuck's going on. If other people show up, if Kong and Mario didn't show up, she'd be fucked at that moment. The people captured would be fucked at that moment. They show up at just the right time. So she is not this woke Mary Sue girl boss character that we keep seeing. These bland, boring, can-do-no-wrong, bitter, shitty people that we're expected to root for because yay women. She's not that. She's generally a really good fucking character, and I love her in this movie. She's great. I have never before liked Peach as much as I like her in this movie. Which is not usually how woke characters go. Usually they're a case of, I like this character in these other things, but here they're a piece of shit. I don't like them anymore. Like, that's usually how this go. But she's better here than she is in a lot of the video games, because she's actually competent. She's actually got a personality rather than just being the goal. You could like all the issues that people would have with Peach, you could say about Luigi in this thing, and even Luigi at the end of the fucking movie gets his fucking go. He gets to kick ass alongside his brother, and it's good, man. It's good to see this cowardly fuck stand up for himself and stand up for the people he cares about. It's great. I love Luigi. I wish we saw more of him, but it wouldn't have made sense for the movie. It worked. Another movie's coming. At the end of the movie, at the end of the credits, you see Yoshi's egg. And it really reminds me about the egg at the final scene of Godzilla 2000. But you see a Yoshi egg. You only see the Yoshis once in the background in the movie. Yoshi isn't in this. He's in the next one, though. More than likely. And hopefully Luigi gets more of a character. Hopefully Mario is like... Mario in this movie was going for the hero's journey. He's gaining competence as it's going on, as he's learning about this world. He's gaining respect from other characters. Luigi... I'm hoping the next movie focuses a little bit more on Luigi. And because Yoshi is going to be in it, I hope they don't voice Yoshi. I hope Yoshi is just an animal. Please don't voice Yoshi, because voice Yoshi has always been weird. Please don't voice Yoshi. All I want is, Waffle! I just want a dinosaur. I don't want a voice character. Just make him an animal, please. But hopefully Luigi gets more of a time to shine in the next game, because I love Luigi. He's my favorite. Like, Luigi and Yoshi are my favorite Mario characters, followed by Bowser. So, they're all green. It's not just the color, I swear. But Luigi and Yoshi are my favorite Mario characters, so hopefully they get a time to shine in the next movie, which will be made because this movie is making bank. I will be buying it because this is a movie I'm going to want to watch again. It's full of hidden stuff in the background, stuff that went over my head. I was discussing with friends at a later date. Because again, like, I like this stuff, but I'm not like a mega fan. These guys are way more knowledgeable than I am, especially my friend that was sitting farthest away from me. He knows a lot about this shit. He's a big retro gamer. So it was, we were watching videos when we got back because we didn't want to be spoiled. And it's just insane to me how people are politicizing this shit. Yeah, I've not heard any left-wing takes, to be honest. I've not been watching that. I think the only left-wing takes that we'll get is that nobody's gay or trans, or there's not black representation or something like that. That's the usual shit, and it's probably just Twitter. I don't think we'll see anyone major talk about that. It'll probably just be some twazics on Twitter. But outside of that, I have seen a lot of right-wing people go on about Peach in this movie, and so I'd say this time the right-wingers are the wokeists. They're acting in the exact same fucking way with this movie that a lot of other people act with other movies. Like, it's insane to me, man. Like, the fact that people are jumping on this to push their agenda says to me that everyone knows how big this movie is. That's all it is. It's people jumping on this movie to push their agenda, mixed with the people who are so interwoven in this political discourse that they're seeing it everywhere and it's ruining it. So I'm glad that I didn't engage in any of this shit until after I saw the movie, because it's generally good. It's generally good. I have Detective Pikachu back there on Blu-ray. I love that movie. As a major Pokemon fan, there's so much that I got from that movie. It's probably one of the best Pokemon, like, media stuff outside of the video games we've had. I fucking love that movie, and I've never liked Pikachu before they made him drink coffee. So that's saying something. Ryan Reynolds, that's the guy. Yeah. I will be buying this movie, definitely. I want to support this. I want more. I would love to see a Metroid... I'm not even a fan of these series, right? I kind of like one or two Zelda games, especially Wind Waker on the Wii U, specifically that version. But I'm not a big Zelda fan. In fact, long-time viewers would know that I struggled to try and like this series for a long time, but I never really did. Even Breath of the Wild is just kind of... But the setting is good. I love the setting of Zelda. The races are cool. The story is like basic but cool. And Zelda and Metroid especially, they would make really good, like, simple, safe, but enjoyable movies. So, I think if we do see another one, we'll either see Mario Bros. 2 or we'll see Donkey Kong. Because a lot of the assets are already here. So, I think we'll see one of them next. And we'll probably see Kirby at some point, because Kirby's a big one. Not necessarily here, but Kirby is a big one. But personally, I really want to see Zelda and Metroid realized like this, because they would be good. Especially Metroid. One aspect of the music that I never mentioned as well is that they actually mixed in a few 80s music soundtracks. Now, I'm biased because I like 80s pop and rock music in general. So, I am very biased. But it works with the setting, because the games kind of, like, Mario games were big in the 80s, you know what I mean? I can't remember when exactly they came out, but I believe it was around either, was it like late 70s or early 80s? Something like that. So that kind of music will be around anyway. And it works. It doesn't feel like, hey kids, remember this pop music that came out long before you were even born? It's one of those, like a throw-in for the adults. No, it's like it fits the setting for some reason, because a lot of this screams old-fashioned because of the property in general. So, yeah, the soundtrack's great, the backgrounds are great, the voice acting was a lot better than I thought. I think the worst one was probably Luigi. Luigi was weird, and it's because it's just the guy from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. But we'll see. When Luigi gets more screen time, I'll in like hopefully the next movie, maybe I'll have more to say about it. But I think the worst voice out of a lot of them was probably Luigi, which I didn't expect. Nothing against the actor though. I love Always Sunny. It's fucking fantastic. It's one of America's best comedies. It's right up there. But yeah, it was a bit. You know, like, I'm expecting YouTube videos of people shoving Always Sunny lines over clips of Luigi at this point. It's just his voice. Very little different. So, I mean, at least Jack Black tried. I don't know. So, Luigi is a bit off. But considering he isn't really in the bulk of the movie, it's okay. The worst thing I could say about the movie is that it's a bit fast-paced at times. It jumps and jumps and jumps and jumps. That being said, to get in all the stuff they wanted to get in, they did a really good job with it. So, and the other thing that I could say is the worst joke in the entire fucking movie is your princess is in another castle. I honestly expected them to do, I'm sorry, but your Luigi is in another castle, or your brother is in another castle, something like that. That would have been smarter, because they've obviously turned Luigi into the damsel in distress in this. However, the way they did it was so fucking forced. It wouldn't be unfitting for all the characters to suddenly turn to the viewer and go, "Ah, we did the thing!" You know, it was... My friends like that. I'm on my own. My friends like that. They had no problem with that. I thought it was awful. It was so fucking forced. It really did feel like the characters were gonna go, "Ah! We said the thing, guys! It's like an Among Us movie. Like, if they made an Among Us movie, where at one point they go, "Among Us!" You know, like, and looked at the screen. It would be like that. It was so fucking forced. But yeah, that one Luma, my spirit animal, if you've seen the movie, you know, that Luma, I burst into laughter every single time that fucking Luma spoke, and I'm not the only one. I think the biggest laughs the movie got in the entire running from the audience, keep in mind that this is a British audience, was the Luma, who essentially talks in a lot of depressing existential bullshit. Like, that's what the Luma talks about. He's like, "Prisons, just like hope, is an illusion. We're all closer to death," or something like that. Like, and that got a massive laugh out of the audience. And the other massive laugh was when Bowser was being a simp. They were the things that got the biggest laugh out of the audience. Now, keep in mind that British audience love dark humor. Some of our best comedies is, like, depressing, like, nihilistic shit, right? The British love dark humor. That is very tasteful. I imagine a lot of Americans won't appreciate the humor. In fact, there's probably going to be a few people complaining about that, putting ideas like that into kids' heads. But personally, I thought it was fucking hilarious, and as did the entire audience behind us. So, yeah, that went over well over here. I don't know how it would do in other countries, though, but with British dark sense of humor, the Loomer went over very well. Probably one of the best, some of the best lines in the fucking movie was that. But yeah, I really loved it. I am so happy with that. There's a few movies coming out this year that I want to see. There's that Dracula one with Nicolas Cage, just because of how stupid it looks. Like, that actually looks kind of funny. There's the Dungeons & Dragons movie. I'm a bit dubious about supporting it. In fact, the next D&D campaign that my group is going to do is going to be using the Knives in the Dark rule set, because our DM doesn't feel comfortable supporting Wizards of the Coast right now, which I completely understand. I agree with her. They kind of screwed the pooch and only went back on it because they realized how much they were losing. So I was probably Hasbro more than anything, but yeah. That whole fiasco with D&D, it was really heartwarming to see, like, everyone put political bullshit aside. Left, right side of the D&D debate, everyone put the political bullshit aside, and people just worked with each other to spread the message and to basically say fuck you to Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro. And eventually that consumer backlash won. They went back on it. Well done. Everyone involved in that, no matter how big or small, well done. The YouTube channels that did a lot, well fucking done. That whole thing was handled so well. It was really uplifting to see the D&D community from all political spectrums gather together to side with this one thing. And if there's anything that kind of encapsulates D&D, it's that. People from different races and backgrounds and cultural ideals and alignments getting together to fight against a common enemy that is much bigger than what they are. That's Dungeons and Dragons. So that's great, but I do want to see the movie. It looks fun. I imagine that might be a more woke style movie. We'll see, but it looks good. And one that looks surprisingly fucking good. Go watch the trailer right now. The Barbie movie. Like, okay, the Barbie movie, I was honestly expecting, again, a bunch of this woke stuff, like fuck men, yay women. I was expecting them to subvert expectations by making Barbie this great badass and Ken a fucking loser. Kind of like in the new Velma show, where they make Fred like a typical fucking, misogynistic male with a tiny dick, that kind of thing. But no. It actually looks genuinely funny. It looks like they've taken the premise and are like, okay, this is dumb. Let's just have fun with it. And they have done. And the trailer actually made me laugh. The new Barbie movie, which is a property I've never given a shit about, actually looks pretty fucking good. I want to see that. If I can get the guys to come and see it with me, I will. Because that'd be funny. But yeah, like, the Barbie movie actually looks pretty good. And it was fun going to the cinema for the first time in years with some friends. I've not been to the cinema properly like that in a while. In fact, when I went to see Deadpool 2, I went on my own. When I went to see New Guy, I went with a family member, which was great, but it's not quite the same as going with a group of friends. I can't actually remember the last time I did that. Was it Godzilla? It might have been one of the Godzilla movies, or it was, no, I think it was one of the Godzilla movies. I actually can't remember. But yeah, it was a fun time. Overall, though, really good movie. It's not this great artistic, mind-blowing masterpiece that will make you question, existence and artistic integrity and all this kind of bullshit unless you listen to the Luma the entire time. What it is a video game movie that quite encapsulates the video game it's based on. Fun, casual entertainment. It was good. It was what a Mario Brothers movie should have been, and the changes they made to it make sense to have a coherent story that makes fucking sense. I loved it. I thought it was great. I'll be buying it when it comes out. Right, I also need to watch the new Puss in Boots movie. There's a few movies that are coming out this year. I cannot remember the last time a year happened in which there was more than... Well, fuck, there was even one movie coming out I was interested in. Now there's a handful. This is great. It's been years since I've been interested in watching movies. This is good. This is good. Anyway, this, as always, went on much longer than I thought it would. But no, you know me. You know me by now. Yeah, I'll obviously put spoilers in the title. Let me know what you think. Have you seen the movie? Do you want to see the movie? What do you think of my takes on it? Are you tired of the political bullshit just like me? Bye for now.